What if I told you that a multi-trillion-dollar stimulus bill, the biggest in recent years, is expected to pass within days, and it could quietly change your taxes, your benefits, and even your Medicare options before you even notice? That's exactly what's happening this week. And in this video, we're walking through everything you need to know. Because while politicians debate the fine print, the impact could hit your wallet, your retirement, and your healthcare very soon. If you're someone who depends on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, or you're just trying to stay afloat financially in today's economy, this bill has something in it for you, and not all of it is good. With the Senate preparing for final debate and a marathon round of amendment votes called a vote-a-rama, every change they make could ripple through your life. Seniors, working families, veterans, and small business owners all have something to gain or lose based on what gets added or removed this week. So stay with me. In just a few minutes, you'll understand what's being voted on, when it's happening, how long you may need to wait for results, and what hidden changes could affect your taxes, benefits, or even local hospitals. This is the kind of inside info that can help you stay ahead of the changes, avoid surprises, and be prepared before anything is signed into law. Trust me, the last part of this bill's journey may be the most important, and I'm going to walk you through the full timeline and consequences step by step. Before we go deeper, I'd love to hear what you think about it in the comments. Do you support these large-scale stimulus packages? Or are you worried about what could get cut to make it all work? Your opinion helps shape this conversation. And if you find value in videos like this, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the updates as they roll out. Let's start with what's happening right now. The bill, often nicknamed the Big Beautiful Bill, passed through the House of Representatives about a month ago. That version included major tax reforms, benefit adjustments, and economic incentives aimed at middle-income households and seniors. Once it reached the Senate, the game changed. Senators began reviewing and tweaking the bill to fit their own priorities. And this week, that long process reaches a tipping point. Tomorrow, the Senate officially begins debate. It's more than just talk. This is where senators from both parties get to take the floor and publicly argue for or against various parts of the bill. Most Republicans are expected to pass on their time, having already made their concerns known, but Democrats will likely fill the void, highlighting provisions they want to expand or protect. Expect emotional testimony, proposed amendments, and some sharp disagreements, because what comes next is intense. Next comes the vote-a-rama, scheduled to begin late Thursday or early Friday. This is exactly what it sounds like, an hours-long, sometimes overnight voting marathon. Senators will review and vote on potentially hundreds of amendments, many of which were submitted at the last minute. The process often lasts into the early morning hours and can include non-stop votes for 12, 16, even 18 hours straight. It's one of the most dramatic but least understood parts of how major bills are passed. Most of these amendments won't survive. Lawmakers use the vote-a-rama to make symbolic gestures or float ideas that won't realistically make it into law. But a few, sometimes just 2 or 3, will stick. And those changes, however small they may seem, can dramatically affect who qualifies for what, which programs get funded, or how certain tax breaks are applied. So yes, even a single vote at 3 a.m. can change everything. Once vote-a-rama ends, the Senate will hold the final vote on the updated bill. This could happen late Friday or possibly Saturday, depending on how the amendment process goes. If passed, this version of the bill, now slightly altered from the House's original, will go back to the House of Representatives for final approval. That's because the two chambers need to pass the exact same version before it can be sent to the president's desk. Why does this matter? Because even small changes made by the Senate, whether they're technical fixes or political compromises, require House approval again. If the House agrees, we're in the home stretch. If not, more negotiations will be needed, and that could push the bill's timeline even further. One key player in all this is the Senate parliamentarian. Think of this person as the rule keeper. She reviews the bill line by line to make sure every part of it fits within the strict rules of budget reconciliation, the special process lawmakers are using to pass this bill with a simple majority. Some parts have already been flagged and removed because they didn't meet the criteria. If more violations are found, they'll need to be stripped out, which can delay things even further or force yet another vote. Now here's why the timing matters so much. July 4th is right around the corner. Lawmakers want this bill on the president's desk by next Friday, just before their summer recess. That gives them less than a week to complete debate, survive the vote-a-rama, finalize changes, and pass it again through the House. That's a tight window, and any misstep could push the whole thing past the holiday, causing delays and uncertainty for millions of Americans waiting to see what's inside. If all goes according to plan, the bill will be signed before the July 4th break. That means changes could start rolling out by mid-July. These changes could include expanded tax credits, adjusted healthcare policies, program funding, and possibly even tweaks to benefit qualifications for seniors and low-income families. But again, every step of the process holds opportunities for last-minute surprises. Let's pause for a second and think about the real-world impact of this bill. For seniors, there could be changes to Medicare premiums, expanded assistance for prescription drugs, or new eligibility rules. For families, child tax credits and dependent care benefits could shift. For small business owners, there may be changes to how deductions or employee benefits are handled. Even Social Security offices could feel the impact. Staffing changes, office hours, or longer wait times if funding is adjusted through this legislation. And remember, stimulus doesn't always mean checks in the mail. In this bill, stimulus includes tax relief, program expansion, and targeted benefits that may show up as deductions, credits, or increased support services. But without paying attention, it's easy to miss how it might affect you until you file taxes next year or try to access services that suddenly have new rules. Let's also be clear on what this bill is not. It is not a guaranteed round of direct payments like the stimulus checks from 2020 and 2021. There are no $1,400 payments heading to everyone's mailbox. Instead, this bill leans heavily on tax restructuring, spending priorities, and programmatic changes aimed at targeted relief. The messaging may be broad, but the fine print determines who really benefits and who doesn't. So what happens next? After the final Senate vote, and assuming it passes, the updated bill heads back to the House. Lawmakers there will review the Senate's changes and vote again. If the House signs off, the bill is enrolled and delivered to the President for his signature. The White House has already expressed support, so once it hits the President's desk, it's likely to be signed within a day or two. If that happens before July 4th, implementation can begin in the following weeks. Agencies will start rolling out rule changes, the IRS will prepare new tax guidance, and federal programs will adjust operations to comply with the new law. Some changes may take effect immediately, while others could be phased in over months. That's why knowing the timeline and watching for updates is so important. To recap, debate begins this week. Vote-a-rama happens Thursday into Friday. The final Senate vote will likely happen by the weekend. Then it's back to the House, and if they approve, on to the President's desk, hopefully by July 4th. That's the